and wondered, what is my life like without alcohol?
I mean, 2 CrossFit sessions a day, that's a lot. Because I've done CrossFit and one session I'm like wiped at the end of it. But you were doing 2 of them and you were gaining weight.
Yeah. And so I went then into just wellness. I became a nutrition coach. I worked with people in movement. And you want to hear something funny?
Tell me.
And I was going into movement, nutrition coaching. I had a client who actually said, Jamie, what do you really want to be doing?
Welcome to the show. I am James Swanwick, and today we're going to be talking about burnout. And my guest today is a lovely lady by the name of Janko, who is a 40-year-old American woman who used to work in the front office of 3 Major League Baseball organizations, the Braves, the Yankees, and the Dodgers. And then she experienced burnout and has made a life transformation, I guess you could say, and is now a breathwork coach, amongst other things. And I was fortunate enough to meet Jamie socially in Bali, Indonesia, during an extraordinary time in world history called the pandemic, which was a fascinating time. And now she joins me, of all places, in Medellin, Colombia, where we are recording this. Jamie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, James. So good to see you again.
So good to see you again. We literally just reconnected about 120 seconds ago after not seeing each other in Bali. Corporate America, working for the Braves, Yankees, and Dodgers front office. What was that like for you?
It was a dream. It was an absolute dream. And it was a dream that led to complete burnout, right? And so in a career like this with baseball, we're working 81 games a year. That's home games. And then you've got all of these big events outside of the games, concerts. We hosted Beyonce. We hosted so many big names, Fleetwood Mac. It was absolutely incredible. It was to the point though that it was so much. It was so much. And it was almost like living this life that looked so good on paper. It was really, really just killing me inside.
How does it kill you inside if it looks so great on paper? Because you're right, that does sound like a lot of fun.
Right. It was a lot of fun, but it was also the kind of stress and anxiety that you don't even realize that you have until you don't have it anymore. I remember my dad told me something really powerful when I was working at the Dodgers. He said, Jamie, stress will kill you. And it was at that time where I was starting to see that stress manifest physically. If someone were to ask, Jamie, are you stressed? I would be like, no, I'm fine. I've got this. Like I was leading huge teams in the organization. I was going up the corporate ladder. It was such a bright future. But I started to gain a lot of weight. I started to have rashes all over my body. I started to ask questions about who am I? What is my legacy? Who do I want to be in this world? And as all of that came into existence together, it was really obvious that I wasn't living in alignment, that I wasn't living a life true to myself, and that I wasn't taking care of myself at all.
Besides maybe intuitively feeling like you weren't doing what you were supposed to be doing, how weren't you taking care of yourself at all? Maybe with nutrition or a lack of exercise or lack of sleep. Like what were some of those examples? In
each city, it was different. In New York, right? In New York, we're working like crazy. We're going out like crazy. We're partying. We had business cards that said Yankees, right? We would put them in fish bowls and win happy hours. Every week, someone would have a different happy hour. I have no idea how I survived my 20s.
Wow. That is pretty cool, having a card that says I work for the Yankees.
Yeah.
In New York City.
It was a ticket. There was so much fun that was also happening simultaneously, but had never sat back for a moment and wondered, what is my life like without alcohol? What is my life like without this big career? Like, who am I really? And when I got to the Dodgers, my then kryptonite became exercising. It became CrossFit. I was trying to compete in CrossFit and carry this career and relationship. And it was so much that my nervous system couldn't handle it. It couldn't. And the thing is, I didn't have any tools back then. I didn't know how to use my breath. I didn't know how to use any of the things that I have now.
Yeah. And so you mentioned a rash before and you put on weight. I'm assuming you didn't put on weight when you were doing CrossFit though.
I did.
Oh, you did put on weight?
Did.
Was it muscle or was it weight, unwanted weight?
It was unwanted weight.
Really?
It was a spike in cortisol. It wasn't, oh gosh, James, this takes me back. I was doing like 2 a days. I'd be at the gym at 5 a.m. before getting to the stadium. My office was in right field. I was tracking macros, doing everything perfectly, but my body was holding on so much because of stress and very little sleep. With little sleep, with high stress, you're not going to lose weight. You're not going to be healthy. I didn't gain a lot of like strength and muscle. I didn't get to that dream of competing in CrossFit either.
Oh, you didn't do it?
No.
I mean, 2 CrossFit sessions a day, that's a lot. Because I've done CrossFit and one session I'm like wiped at the end of it. But you were doing 2 of them and you were gaining weight.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating. And the stress that you're referencing, it wasn't the stress from the job, it was the stress of you not being in alignment with what you truly wanted to do, or what was it? Or was it both?
It was both.
Okay.
It was both. I think that when we look at humans, right, there's so much more to us than what we do for work. There's so much more to us than, our family life. And what I was doing was putting every piece of me into this job. There was no room for any other desires. And there was real fear around leaving baseball. Eventually, I had seen a holistic doctor because all the other doctors were like, oh, here's some steroid cream. Finally, when I saw a holistic doctor, she said, Jamie, this is the stress. It's like, we have to put in a plan in place for you to reduce stress. Ultimately, that led me to leaving the Dodgers because I really wanted to help other women to avoid this burnout that I had experienced. And so I went then into just wellness. I became a nutrition coach. I worked with people in movement. And you want to hear something funny?
Tell me.
I hit burnout again.
Wow.
And I did that. And I learned that it's not about the job. It wasn't about the jobs in baseball. That was a lot of fun. I loved so many of those people I worked with. Like, there was so many good things about it. And then the same with health and wellness. And then it made me realize it's not the job. It's me. What's the common denominator? Right?
It's kind of like that Taylor Swift song. Hey, well, how does it go? Hey, I'm the problem. It's me.
Yes.
At tea time, everyone agrees, or something like that.
That was
Sorry to all you Swiftie fans out there. I butchered Taylor's song. But that was you. It was you. You realized that the pattern was you.
Yes, the pattern was me. And what's really amazing is at that time, that's when I found breathwork. And that's when everything changed in my life.
Before we get to the breathwork, leaving corporate America, leaving the corporate job at the baseball teams, what pushback, if any, did you get maybe from friends or family?
Oh, gosh. I remember when I had left and I was going into movement, nutrition coaching. I had a client who actually said, Jamie, what do you really want to be doing? Like, is this what you really want? Is this it? And I was like, absolutely. This is it. This is the moment. No one could understand because, again, it looks so good on paper. People lined up for my jobs.
I can imagine.
Yeah, my family thought I was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
They thought I lost it, like a early midlife crisis.
Yeah. I had a similar experience. I was a sports center anchor on ESPN and I was working corporate America and I was out at the ESPN headquarters in Bristol, Connecticut, and I was watching sport and talking about sport on TV behind the sports center desk every day. And I left that job to go and try to be an entrepreneur. And I got lots of pushback from people. What are you doing? You're crazy. That's the greatest job in the world, especially for a lot of men who are obsessed about sport. I'm like, that's the greatest job in human history, being a sports center anchor. But I knew that if I stayed there, I would probably get stuck in corporate America. And so I quit and I went to go and try and be an entrepreneur. And candidly, I struggled for a couple of years and didn't make much money until I did, until it started to shift. But I get that cultural conditioning or social expectation is that you've got a great job, stick with that. But congratulations to you for actually having the courage to make that shift.
It was a huge moment in time. I remember being terrified. I remember just this feeling of just like fear, but of this, I remember saying at the moment, I can't not do this. it's bubbling within me. And I'll never forget that day. I was terrified walking into my boss's office, and he just met me with such compassion. And he met me with just looking back like it was just like love, like it was like he knew. And I remember walking out of his office with just like skipping down the hallway. Like I did this.
Wow. Now the breath work you said changed everything. Yeah. Well, actually going in and resigning from corporate America changed everything. And then realizing that health and wellness, or being obsessed with health and wellness, actually wasn't the answer. And then you discovered breath work.
Exactly.
Okay, tell us about that.
Exactly. I remember my first breathwork session. So I thought I was going to a meditation class, but it was a breathwork class. In the class, people are screaming, they're shouting, they're crying. I'm crying, have no idea why I'm crying. I get out of the session and I had felt my soul and my intuition and my body speak to me for the first time in my life. And it was visceral. And at that moment, I knew that I wanted to learn everything about this, because at the same time, I'm still this like type A corporate mind. And I'm like, okay, I felt these things, but I need all the science, need all the proof. I need to truly intellectualize it, because feeling wasn't enough. And that's what took me on this journey of becoming a breathwork facilitator, and then getting to the point of teaching others to become breathwork facilitators.
Can you give me an example now of the type of breathwork that you were doing? Like, was it, or was it more kind of like, can you walk us through the experience?
Yes, it is known widely as transformational breathwork. Breathing deeply in our belly, in our chest, out our mouth. So that was the majority of the experience.
And what does doing that do to our body and to our mind?
Gosh, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Our physiology changes so much in a breathwork experience. So imagine this, we're bringing in lots of oxygen. We are dispelling a lot of CO2. What we're going to find is that there are lots of changes that happen in our body. One of the greatest changes is that we actually move blood from our prefrontal cortex, and we're able to sink deeper into what you could say subconscious, or to limbic, into a place where there's more emotion, there's more memory, there's a possibility for memories to come up, to process, to release. A lot of people use breath work for emotional release, trauma release. I love to use it for business and creativity. I tell people that I don't make any decisions unless I breathe on it. It brings me into such deep connection with my mind, my body, my soul. It brings me all into one. And so then I feel like I'm truly aligned and can be guided to that next choice. So I always like to say it's not just for, we see online these big trauma releases, big emotional release. Yes, it is that, but there's so many benefits that are also physical, that are also mental, that are also emotional. It runs the whole gamut.
So how do you do breath work on a daily basis if you're not leading a workshop, for example? Is it like this big dramatic 1 hour breathing session where you play music and you've got scented candles and all that kind of stuff? I mean, as beautiful as that sounds.
It sounds great. It sounds great. No, and I don't recommend that people go into huge, deep breathwork sessions every day. There has to be time for integration. What I'll do on a day-to-day basis, what's important to me is breath awareness, coming into big belly breaths, big rib breaths, chest breaths, going into maybe 3 rounds of 10, just feeling into my breath. And that's the first step. And then I might need to use it to stimulate my nervous system. I might need to use it to downregulate. So it depends on a day to day. But it starts with awareness and being aware of, am I holding my breath when I'm working? That's the thing that so many people do. How do I feel when I feel really stressed? How am I breathing? Am I breathing shallow? Probably. Let me go into some nose breath, breathing in slowly in through my nose, maybe 4 seconds, out for 8 seconds. That's a good one.
Can you show us that?
Yeah.
Right now?
You want to do it with me?
Yeah, do it.
All right, we're going to breathe in through our nose, and let's put our hands on our body. Let's go hands on belly, and we can feel that expansion of our belly. All right. So breathe in through our nose deeply for 4, 3, 2. Can you get some more? In 1, and breathe out slowly for 8. Slowly 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Yeah, you feel that?
Yeah.
So the thing is this, when we breathe in, heart rate goes up.
Yeah.
When we breathe out, heart rate goes down. So if we can focus on long, slow exhales, we can lower heart rate, blood pressure, respiratory rate.
Got it. So to lower our heart rate, blood pressure, we do that from the breathing out. But to get to the breathing out, lowering, we need to speed up by breathing in. We need to speed up the heart rate?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
And usually the heart rate's already going to be maybe sped up. So think about a stressful situation where you feel your heart, you feel yourself breathing slowly. In those moments, breathe in slowly through the nose for 4, slowly out the nose for 8. Do it for a few cycles, maybe a minute or 2. What you're going to feel is your body starting to calm down. And when our body can calm down, it can tell our brain through our vagus nerve, inform us like, hey, we're okay. I think things are okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me try it again. So 4 seconds in, 8 seconds out.
Yep, let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do hands on the belly though. Let's feel that expansion, all right? Breathing in deeply, slowly in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Out for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's do it again. Let's go in for 4 through the nose for 4, 3, 2, 1. Out for 8 through the nose for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Clarifying question.
Yes.
Am I breathing through the nose and out the nose, or through the nose and out the mouth, or through the mouth and out the nose? Which variation am I doing?
So for this one, let's go in the nose, out the nose.
Okay, in the nose and out the nose.
In the nose, out the nose.
When would we shift to breathing through the mouth?
So mouth breathing, right? We'll know for day to day, nose breathing is superior. We always want to be nose breathing. However, there are some breathwork practices that we will go in through our mouth in order to create that physiological response I spoke of earlier. And so in the sessions that I teach, we're breathing in through the mouth, breathing out through the mouth. And that's again because of the volume and the physiological changes we want to create.
So to use an analogy on like back growing up in Australia, television networks used to tell us whether a TV show was suitable for children, parental guidance required, or adults. So in this analogy, the breathing through the nose is the PG-13 or the general kind of thing? General admission. Everyone, especially children, teaching children to breathe in and out of their nose and to feel what breath feels like in their body. Imagine if you were a child and you were taught that. Be transformative for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
And then the X-rated is the right?
It's more of a
and you do that in a controlled session.
Exactly.
And you facilitate those controlled sessions.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And that's when people start talking about having transformative psychedelic almost experiences and their body starts to get warm and their fingers start to clench and they start to see kind of like a kaleidoscope of vision. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so, all right, so we've got a couple of examples there of the general admission nose breathing that we can do during the day. Why and when would someone who's listening go and choose to do a X-rated version of breathing with you?
Yes, I would say a lot of people that come to me, they feel stuck. So they feel stuck in maybe what it is they're doing professionally, in relationship, in life. A lot of times people will come in feeling stuck. That's probably the first thing, something I hear really, really often. Another thing that I hear is people that want to explore. They want to explore next step. They want to explore intuition. Some people will come in knowing that they're carrying a lot of pain from something. Maybe it was an experience they had. Maybe someone had passed away. They're feeling a lot of pain, and it's a great way to release. Another one is people that feel very numb. And where they're feeling very, very numb, to come in and to open up, to bring in some of that energy. It's really incredible.
A lot of our clients here at Alcohol Free Lifestyle, we help mostly entrepreneurs and executives to stop drinking. We have a 90-day stop drinking process. The University of Washington did a scientific study on it early 2023 and found there was a 98% reduction in drinking through our process. A lot of the folks who come to us say that they feel stuck, not just with their drinking, but in their marriage, in their career, in their health. and they're numbing themselves and or they're sedating themselves from the pains of their life, and they're using alcohol. So they're using alcohol to sedate themselves. Is that a common stuck point or sticking point that you find with people who come to get unstuck?
Sometimes. Yeah, I would say definitely. And what this actually makes me think of is when I was in Bali, I worked with a sober living home. And so people, they had already gone into rehab and they had experience there. They'd gone to the sober living home. So I would go there and facilitate breath work for them. And it was beautiful because they were able to let go of so much of that pain that the addiction really caused them and their family. They were really able to go in to find forgiveness for themselves, to find self-love for themselves, and to really find gratitude for themselves and what they'd been through.
So just controlled breathing in a safe environment can help people let go of the guilt and shame around their addictions?
Part of it, yes.
And can it help them to release their addictions?
I would say it takes a lot, right? I'm not saying that breathwork is going to be a cure-all for addiction or for loss or anything like that, but it's an incredible tool to use when you have support.
What's your perception of the perception of breathwork in the United States, especially in the US healthcare system?
Oh, I would say non-existent. To be very honest, what my true passion and calling in life is to teach breathwork to people that take it out into their communities. So most of my clients are going to be therapists. They're going to be counselors. They're going to be Reiki practitioners. They're going to be coaches. I've had nurses take this course as well. And in this course, they learn the techniques of breathwork to then take to their clients. And so it has been incredible to have several nurses take this course. However, I will say the nurses that have taken this course have been from Australia. They've been from Germany. They've been from UK. I think I might have only had a couple from the US.
Why do you feel that is?
I think that it's not something in the US. I feel like we're really into pharmaceuticals. We're really into, it's not preventative care. We've got this big problem now. And I think that if we could use more stress reduction, more tools, modalities to help with lowering stress, it could make a world of a difference.
You and I met in Bali, Indonesia. And of course, Bali was made very popular maybe a dozen years ago with a Hollywood movie called Eat, Pray, Love that starred Julia Roberts. What was your perception of Bali health modalities when you were living there, and when you compare that to, say, what the United States pushes on people?
It's very different. When I look at Bali and I think about the healing in Bali, so much it's so much more internal, so much more about everything happening in your life as well, right? When I look at the States, it's very much about kind of like what's wrong with you instead of what's happened to you, right? It's not this like sense of trauma informed. It is, again, so much more preventative, or not preventative, but what do you call that? When it's like the shit has already hit the fan.
Yeah, the opposite of preventative.
The opposite of preventative.
Yeah, I use this phrase all the time, but now that you're putting me on the spot, I've forgotten it. Hang on, let me think. No. It'll come to me.
It'll come in the weirdest time.
Yeah. It's the opposite. Yeah.
It's the absolute opposite. I mean, when it comes to healthcare in the States, I'm worried about where we are and I'm worried about where we're going, to be honest.
Where do you think we're going if we don't do something?
I see a continuation of just this healthcare crisis, this continuation of our being so dependent on pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
Just more and more pills, more and more pushing.
What pills do you like? What pills do work? That's a good question.
That's a good question. I don't think that is in my scope. No.
But it's funny, because I'll tell you this. This is what I'll say. I'll share a story. I am prone to gout attacks. My body has a high level of uric acid, and it's genetic, I've been told. I don't drink, don't drink alcohol. And if you drink a lot of alcohol, you can get gout attacks. Also, if you eat a lot of red meat or a lot of seafood, there's a lot of purines in seafood. So for example, I had a pizza once with anchovies on it, and I rarely have anchovies on it, but I ate a whole pizza with anchovies, and the next day I got a gout attack, right? Because of very high levels of purines. Now, a former romantic partner and I were living together, and she would cook food for us a lot, and she didn't eat red meat and a little bit of chicken, but mostly lentils, beans, things like that. So for about 2 years, I would eat mostly beans and lentils because she was doing most of the cooking. And I got 3 gout attacks in 2 years. And I'm like, this is crazy, because usually gout comes from eating too much red meat or too much alcohol. I later came to realize that lentils and beans have high levels of purines in it, which can bring on gout attacks. So I was like, man, this is crazy. Now, the last gout attack I had, she was very much anti-prescription medication. She was very much anti-Western medicine. And so for a week, I wrote out this gout attack, and it was painful. Like, for anyone who doesn't know, a gout attack, it's like crystals form in the joints of either your big toe or your ankle or your knee, and it's very painful. It's like someone's taken a sledgehammer to your ankle or your foot, and it just blows up. It's red, it's inflamed. So for 7 days, I wrote it out thinking, well, okay, natural. I'll be able to heal with natural. And in the end, I didn't tell her, but I withheld this from her. I got in the car and I went to the damn doctor, and I said, I got a gout attack, and they wrote me a prescription for a drug called, I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, and then I took 2 or 3 of these pills, and 24 hours later, my gout was gone. Now, I don't know if that means that the gout had just run its course by day 8 or whether it was the drugs, but I think it was the drugs. And that was a big shift for me, because for a few years leading up until that point, I would probably say that I leaned more on the side of natural cures, right? But I took that prescription drug, and it did really support me. So now I kind of lean more back into the middle. What are your thoughts on that?
I would say I live very much in the middle, because I think that there is 100% a time and place for medicine and for like intervention, right? Very like acute kind of like big things, right? Like, I'm not going to, I don't want to say this.
What? You don't want to what?
Like break my leg and go to a Bali healer.
Ah, got it. She's kind of like, I've got a broken leg, and the Bali healer like puts his hands 5 meters above your broken leg and goes, blah, blah, abracadabra.
No, I'm going to go to the hospital on that one.
Right.
Right. But when it comes to some other things, I think that we can really go into like using modalities to lower stress. I think that stress is a huge killer. And I think that breathwork, again, is not going to solve everything. However, what it is going to do is bring us deeper into mindfulness. It's going to lower our cortisol. It's going to help us in that way.
Yeah.
But I think that there's definitely a room for both. And I think when we marry them both is probably where the magic's at.
I am in alignment with that, because I can tell you, living in Bali like I did for part of the pandemic, I often felt that many coaches out there were just too, let's call it woo-woo, too woo-woo, that it just defied logic what they were proposing. But there were also many coaches out there who would probably be accused of being woo-woo only, but there was immense benefit that I got from a lot of those things as well. So I think you're right, like somewhere in the middle, why can't we take part of Eastern medicine, part of Western medicine, and merge them together?
Exactly. And when it comes to my breathwork training, what I'm really known for is marrying the science and the sacred. So it's all of the science, all of the safety, the contraindications, the side effects, the waivers, the legalities. It's really working with this, and then also honoring the spiritual side, the energy, the sacred. And so marrying those together, I think that's where the beauty is in breathwork, certainly, but I think also in most of life.
You know the phrase, you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
Of course.
I mean, I'd love to see me trying to persuade my 79-year-old father to do a breathwork session. I mean, he's a former veterinarian who became a lawyer in later life, but he's very much the science. He does not subscribe at all to some of the things that you're suggesting. And I'm sure we've got listeners like that who are listening to this now going, this is a bunch of hokey pokey.
Of course.
I got resistance to this. What would you say to the skeptics, I guess?
Yes. So That has been my entire family.
Oh, really?
I'll say that. But you talking about your dad. I had a breathwork session with a man in Dublin this summer. He was 75, former lawyer.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, the universe works in mysterious ways. Thank you so much for giving guidance and expertise to our listeners today. Really appreciate you. And to you, the listener, thank you so much. And we'll catch you on the next one.